Tonight I'm working on my 2013 Passat TDI with the CKRA motor. I've gone ahead and got the airbox taken off. It's pretty straightforward. Stuffed a rag down there so nothing gets dropped down in the turbo. I've got access to the master cylinder here. I'm going to be using a Motive Products brake bleeder. I bought this years ago for my Jetta. It came with an adapter, but I recently got this adapter, master adapter set. Comes in a nice case, closes up, and it's got a bunch of different style bleeders. That's for GM. I use that on my S10, but this is the one for Volkswagen E20, but it's got a bunch of different other ones, so hopefully that thing will come in handy. So these are the adapters of what it will fit on, what it will do. So that's what I'm using, is E20 on this car. So work on quite a few cars evidently. Didn't work very well on the S10, unfortunately. Wasn't very impressed, but oh well. I got it done. This I do like, that it has a quick disconnect though. I don't know if this is a quick disconnect I'll be able to find other adapters for when I make other adapters or not, but we'll see. Hopefully I won't have to make any other adapters with that kit. But this just goes on and snaps into place when you get this screwed on. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the cap taken off and put this cap on here in a second. First thing you gotta do is get it up in the air, get the wheels off, and then I usually soak my bleeders just right around here, right where they screw in with mouse milk. So go around and soak all of them. I did that last night and didn't have time to finish this up, so I'll jump on this tonight. So, get my hands freed up and take this cap off. So first things first, you want to take off the plug. I already took it off, but it's got a little pink. I'll just pull it off of here first. Get this out of the way so you can see it. So you got to disconnect the electrical connector from it first. Get a rag or something ready. So this little thing, it's got a little safety tab on it, this little red tab. This little red tab right here by my finger. So you got to pop that up, and then that allows you to push it down and disconnect it. Sometimes again, you've got to push them on a little further in order to get them to disconnect. So talked about that in other videos. All right, so this cap just screws on really easy on this car. That's why I love the pressure bleeder on this car, especially. Any of the screw-on caps, these caps that just go right on, are just, they make it so easy. All right, and then hook up the quick disconnect. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pump this one up. I already did this last night, but just to show you. All right, so you screw your cap down all the way there to the thing here. This is where you add brake fluid. Pop that cap off, screw it down all the way, and then I'm going to pump it up to about 10 psi. We can go further than that on this. This one's designed to do, my Jetta was designed to do 30. I don't like taking it up too high, but I'll take it up to 15. Gotta bleed off pressure anyway. So I don't have any brake fluid in here right now. And the reason I don't is because you want to pressure check it. If the cap down here is leaking, it's going to dump brake fluid. So the idea behind this is it puts a head pressure in the master cylinder, but it's also going to overfill the master cylinder. And it's only going to fill up the master cylinder with the volume you take out of the bleeders. So it won't technically overfill it. If there is a leak, then it definitely will overfill it, because it's just going to keep going until it's got nowhere to go. It's trying to push this fluid through. So this thing's got a little standpipe that goes and runs down inside of it. I'll show you that when I pop it off. but it's pushing that fluid up through. Right now, it's not pushing anything but air pressure, because we want to test it with just air. Because if air leaks, it's no big deal, right? So I'll take it up to 15, and you kind of got to get it stabilized first. So I usually take it up to 10, 15 or so, and then let it sit for an hour or so and see if it comes down. If you lose like half a PSI, it's nothing to really worry about. You're not gonna notice that. But if you lose 5 PSI in half an hour, you're gonna have a pretty decent leak somewhere down here on the master cylinder. Could be your lines. So you're gonna want to find out where your leak is before you proceed. So we'll do a leak check on it again. Just anytime you hook it up to the cap again, do a quick leak check, at least 5-10 minutes or so. Make sure it's holding pressure. But the first time you do it, do a good 30 minutes. So we'll give it a few minutes, and then we'll put brake fluid in it. I'll come back. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my extractor, oil extractor. I'm gonna hook it up, and I'm gonna use it to pull all the fluid, the dirty fluid, out of the master cylinder first things first, and then pressurize it again. With clean fluid in, we don't want to push old dirty fluid from the master down through the system. We want to push all new fluid. It'll make our job a little easier here. So, all right, so this thing's pretty easy. Pop this little cap off. Take one of these tubes out. Kind of doing that off camera there. So this is the one that hooks to the cap there. You can see the little tabs. It's got a little tab right here. Just pop that on there. So then I'm just gonna take the tube and we're gonna put it down in there and start the vacuum. All right, so it's gonna extract all of it out. So I just hook a shop air hose to it. Turn this little valve. You can do it by hand too, but that's a lot easier, right? All right, for whatever reason, Volkswagen has this little screen in here, and it doesn't come out. It's probably snaps in when it goes in, so I'm not gonna try and take it out and break it, but they have that in there to keep you from getting any debris in there. Probably also so you don't take it out and then suck the master dry and then hit the brake and then end up with a bunch of problems because you got air in the ABS system. So I've got the computer to bleed the ABS system as well, so we're gonna go ahead and do that too, even though I'm not gonna drain it enough to where I'm going to get any air into the system. All right, so now we'll add a little bit of brake fluid. You always want to use brake fluid from a sealed container, so one where the cap is still on. So this is just O'Reilly's .4. This car takes .4. Make sure you use the proper brake fluid. It says on your cap, I usually say right on the cap where it says .4 right there. .3 and .4 are typically interchangeable. One thing with .4 is it has a higher boiling point than .3. So if you have a .3 system, you can use .4 in it generally, not the other way. If it's designed for .4 and you do some heavy braking, then you can have some problems. So, all right. So this is gonna be fun because it's way back in the back and I don't want to spill any. I think my hand's gonna be in the way, and it's really the only way I can get it in here. But you're just gonna top off the master, and really you're gonna top it off to about the point that you want it when you're finished. Because remember, it's only going to replace the volume that you take out from the pressure bleeder. All right, so you kind of see the lines right here. If you shake it a little bit, so my fluid level is about right there. So I need to add a little bit more, but we don't want to overfill it. Now it's about right here, which is fine. We're close. I will top it off completely when we're done. So we're gonna go ahead and hook back up the cap. You don't want to do this before you replenish what you've taken out there, because if you put enough head pressure on this system, you could push air into the ABS system, and that is always fun, bleeding that. And by always fun, I mean not any fun. All right, so we're gonna give this a quick pressure test again. It's all right. I don't want brake fluid everywhere. That's the most important thing. This time I'm gonna go to just a smidge over 10 and leave it for a few minutes. Just make sure it doesn't bleed down. All right, first thing you gotta go around and break all the bleeders free. Recommend doing that with a socket, a 6-point socket, so you don't round it off. Again, use some mouse milk or any kind of lubricant, penetrating oil. Day before, preferably, break it free. If not, if you don't have much time, you can heat it up right here with MAP gas a little bit, and then put a little bit of the oil there. It'll go in, and then you can break it real quick. But I'm gonna break it and then just tighten it back up. And I'm using a 1/4-inch ratchet because I'm not gonna round it off or really break it with a 1/4-inch ratchet. So it's broken free. Now I can get on it with a little wrench, a little stubby. This is what I'm gonna get in there with, so that I can hook it on and then still get the line hooked to the bleeder. I got pulled away for something last night and didn't get back on this. But good thing I discovered I'd left this on all night at 15 PSI. With this quick disconnect, it actually does shut it off. I should have known that, but anyway, it shuts it off and holds pressure. So I know the bottle, everything to here, is holding pressure, which is pretty awesome. The one that Motive supplies doesn't have that at all. So it's kind of a pain. You gotta take this nut off. So I really like this feature of this bleeder kit. So I was gonna pressurize the tank real quick. I'll lose a little pressure, not much. All right, I'll give this a couple minutes. Take it back up to 15, give it a couple minutes just to make sure it's not leaking. And then we're gonna go ahead and fill this with brake fluid and get to bleeding. All right, I just yanked the cap off. It literally just unscrews. I don't think I need to show you that. So I'm just gonna take my brake fluid and pour it in here. This thing will hold quite a bit. In fact, I've never had it full. I typically only fill it with 1 or 2 of those containers, just depending on how much I'm bleeding. If I'm bleeding after replacing like a master cylinder, you know, I'm gonna use probably 2. If I'm just bleeding the brakes, typically I'm only gonna bleed one of these 32-ounce containers. So, all right, now we're just gonna put a little pressure, and you're gonna see the brake fluid come through and start going into the master cylinder. All right. So really all it's doing, it's not gonna overfill it like I was saying. All it's getting into is really getting the fluid to here and bleeding the air out. And added a little, we're right at the very bottom of that right there, of the full mark. Right at the top of the full mark, rather. But they may have added a smidge. That's okay. As long as you don't take it off, take this off, put it on, take it off, put it on quite a few times, you're not going to overfill the master. All right, so now we've got pressure on the master. Now we can go crack our brake line that's furthest away from the master. All right, we're on the passenger rear. I've already got the line hooked up, so I just throw it down inside of a old container, and this is a little bleeder thing where you can actually pinch this and shut off the line, but it actually works great. I never really used that. It actually works great if you take it and tuck it inside of here so it doesn't come popping out of your bottle and you don't end up with brake fluid all over the floor. So this thing just has a little end on it like this, and it's just gonna go push right on top of your bleeder. So you wanna take it and you wanna run it. You want to run it in such a way, I'm gonna push it right down on the bleeder. You wanna run your hose in such a way that the hose comes back up and then goes down to your bleeder, like that. And the reason for that is you're gonna see air bubbles rise to the top of here. It's gonna be a little clearer than if the hose was just going straight down into it. So you're gonna actually have a little more time for the air bubbles to rise, and they're gonna kind of sit here for a little while and slowly work their way down. And you'll make sure you get a little better bleed this way. All right, another trick too is sometimes you'll get air coming from the gap on the bleeder and the caliper itself. Now, this caliper is kind of hard to tell what's what here because there's so much stuff going on with the e-brake and then the upper A-arm or whatever they call this one. I don't know. It's not really an A shape, so they might call it something different. Anyway, I'm gonna slide this wrench on, and then we're gonna crack the bleeder open. And you don't need to go too far. You just need to see fluid start flowing. Oh, we see it there? And this fluid's not terribly dirty. I've seen it filthy before. Not seeing any air bubbles, which is good. We don't have any air in the system. And so that fluid's just gonna run its way down right in the container. So we're gonna give it a couple minutes here, and I'm just gonna periodically kind of come back and give my container a shake and see kind of how heavy it's getting. But you can see, take that out for a second. It's got a slow stream. There's kind of a drip right now, which is fine. I don't have that bleeder cracked way open where I have a steady stream coming out. So I'm just gonna wait a minute or two and let something come out. Maybe fill up about a quarter of that bottle or so. And then we'll move on to the next one. All right, so you periodically want to come back up here, check that you've got pressure, right, on your gauge still. Also, really, since this is filling into that, all you need to do is shake this and make sure you have fluid in here. So you're not really gonna see much of an air bubble. There's an air bubble right here where this air is trapped. You're never gonna really get that air bubble out. But if you see like these lines have tons of air, then you'd have to be worried about the master being low. So this keeps filling your master, so it's really nice. You could walk away and do other things. Just make sure you don't run it empty. But it'll kind of do its thing. So the fluid's kind of clearing up a little bit. It's been a minute or so. There's not a whole lot in there just yet. I might go ahead and open the bleeder just a smidge more and get a little more out. But first I need to run and grab my computer because we're gonna do a ABS bleed as well. All right, so I'm not really having any leak, and that's one of the advantages of pressure bleeding. Oops. Right down there. So you see a little bit of brake fluid right down there near the wrench between the bleeder and the caliper. What you can do if you're not pressure bleeding is you can take a little bit of grease before you put this on and pack that area with grease, and the grease will form a better seal if you've got a bunch of little air bubbles coming up here, because sometimes you don't have air bubbles in the system. You're actually getting air bubbles from a leak right down here, and it's allowing air into the system, and then it's going out through the line and out and coming up here, and that's what you're seeing. you're not actually seeing a leak in the system. So that's another little trick that I've used. Don't typically have to do it with the pressure bleeder. All right, I'm in the car. I'm going to show you what it says on VCDS. Evidently you don't do this unless, I'll show you here in a second. This is what, if you do an auto scan, it'll spit out this long report, the details, every single code, or if it doesn't have a code, for every single system or module in the car. So I don't remember which car this was, I'd have to find out, but this one has that many modules that it communicates with, not just engine, transmission, and body control module. It's got quite a few other modules. So, all right, get off of that there. And we're gonna go to VCDS. And we're going to select control module. This isn't gonna apply to me because I didn't do, you're gonna get a lot of lights and stuff on the dash. It's normal. I didn't replace any components, so this isn't really gonna apply, but I was just gonna show you, in case you did, this is how you do it, at least on a Volkswagen. So, let's, didn't tell you what I went to, so I went to the brake controller. Oh, right there. Brakes, let it load, go to basic settings, and then you got this little drop down menu. You can use this, but I just find this easier. Brake hydraulic system. Now you see what it says there. Use only if standard brake bleeding with or without brake filling and bleeding equipment does not suffice, and or the hydraulic unit has been depleted. So you would only use this if you had replaced like your ABS ABS pump or the module, or say the master cylinder, and you got air into the ABS system. So apparently I don't need to do this. That saves me a little time, but I'm glad I checked. Let's go in here and just check a couple other things to make sure. I don't see anything. Oh. Brake assist, rig booster. We're not going to go into any of this stuff right now. I don't want to have it activate anything else. Alright, so I don't need to run VCDS, unfortunately. We'll get back to bleeding. And just so you know, if you were to have to use VCDS, like if you replaced your master cylinder or this ABS manifold way back there, which would be a pain. I don't envy you if you had to do that. You do want to go ahead and run a battery charger, capable usually of at least 2 amps. That's going to give the battery, I didn't have it on apparently, so it's a good thing I didn't run it very long, because you can see I didn't run it very long and it already was down to like 70-something%. This thing's kind of, I don't trust it all the way, but you do want to have that hooked up if you're going to run VCDS. I'm just going to go ahead and top the battery back off since I have it out. But VCDS will kill your battery very, very, very quickly. So have a battery charger. I don't. A tender really wouldn't work. You probably want at least 2 amps, and then shut everything off in the car. Stereo, HVAC fan, any kind of load. Headlights will slave on, so make sure they're slaved off. Even your interior lights, you can cut those off too and save a little power to minimize what this has to do to keep the battery from dying. But it'll die in a very short time. So we're gonna go back here and just start bleeding. We've got plenty of pressure yet, so we'll continue to bleed. So I'm gonna get off a little easier than I thought I would. All right, I'll kick this back open. I'm gonna open it a little more just so we can bleed this a little bit faster. And I leave my wrench up there just to make it easier on myself so I don't lose it. Show you how much is coming out now. now got a good steady stream. I know that didn't seem like a lot, but it'll go fast. It's a lot faster than pumping, trust me. So we're gonna give it a few more minutes because it's like way down here. So we're gonna take it up to maybe up here. Your rears obviously have more line coming all the way from the front to the back than the fronts rather. So you're gonna want to bleed a little more fluid out of the rears than you do the fronts. So, and especially this rear because it's the furthest from everything. Just gonna check it. The fluid is definitely getting cleaner. You can hardly tell the color differences. That's what you want. I just checked it. I just pulled the hose out and checked it, and it was like right there. And I walked away for a minute. It's probably right around there now. Anyway, while it's running, you can do other stuff, but one thing you just got to keep an eye on is the gauge is going to go down, and the level here is going to go down too. So you want to make sure you keep adequate fluid in it. It's starting to get kind of low. I may end up just adding another fluid or another bottle. I'm just doing quite a bit. So you do have to realize too, when you extract everything out of here, this does hold quite a bit. It holds probably about a quarter of the bottle, maybe a little more. So another thing you can do too is this little standpipe comes down on this side. Is take it and put it like on this car. I could put it right on the airbox here, and kind of tilt it so that you get all the fluid out. If you don't want to go crazy and use 2 bottles, but brake fluid's cheap. It's cheap insurance to make sure your lines don't rust and you have the firmest pedal you can have. So your lines will actually rust from the inside out. It gets corrosive, it absorbs moisture. Moisture doesn't compress, so therefore you don't have the strongest, most adequate pedal that you could if the fluid was fresh. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a few pumps, and we're gonna get the pressure back up to about 15. And I'm gonna leave it there. I'm just looking at the bleeder, making sure nothing's leaking all over the place. I don't see any leaks. A couple little drips down here. All right, nothing crazy. Oh, it's probably up to here now already. So it's going fast. It goes quick for you. I might, since I'm planning on driving this thing cross country, I might go a little nuts and get the fluid real clean. So I might throw that other bottle in. So we're gonna go ahead. I already shut it off, but just to show you, it's just, I'm gonna have bubbles in there. It's gonna create, the bubble's gonna work its way back as it drains what's in the line. So this is really clean. I'm pretty happy with it. We're gonna go pretty snug with this bleeder. Use a stubby wrench. You're not gonna get a ton of torque on it, and you're not gonna shear the bleeder off. So that's why I'm using a stubby or a 1/4-inch drive ratchet. Probably use this to snug it up once I'm done here. So a couple tricks to making this mess free. You can pinch the line, pull it out, just make sure this is up. That's one of the reasons that's there. You can do that, but I'd prefer just to take the line and now work it so all of your fluid drains out, so it's kind of a straight shot down. This is really why you don't want to have it like this, because I mean, you can hardly see if there's any brake fluid at all in that line. If I opened it, you're really not going to see if there is. Now you come down here and you start seeing the fluid, but you're really not going to see that very well. All right, that is a lot better. There we go. Still got a little bit of shadow from that, but I got the light on above me. All right, so do you see the big bubble there? So now I'm just gonna take the hose and just hold it and just let all that stuff run out. All right, so it's already all ran down into the bottle. And then there's a little bit that went up, so I'll let it kind of rest again. And pick it back up again. All right, and now we can pop the bleeder off of here. I'm gonna kind of set this somewhere where it doesn't want to fall on me. Reach from the other side and grab it, and now I don't have any mess. So that's the way I do it, mess free. There's a little bit of a mess down there. I wouldn't call that a mess. Anyway, off to the next one. Then you'll want to go ahead and continue with the driver's side rear, passenger front, and then the driver front. All the while you want to continue checking to make sure your pressure bleeder does not run out of fluid. All right, so I clean these tools off when you're done with them. So I just use one of these bottles, fill it with some alcohol, and then take the bottle, put it in there, squirt it, and you can kind of see on the hose. Change the view. There we go. You can kind of see on the hose, filling up the hose. So you kind of slosh it around with the alcohol, clean it all up, and then you're gonna dump it into your little cup. That's how you rinse your line out. So any of this kind of stuff, you usually want to do that too, because the brake fluid will shorten the life of these little rubber hoses. And you don't want brake fluid, let's face it, you don't want brake fluid all over your garage. Like dripping all over the floor. So then I usually just take it and hang it up. I hang this end up high, and then leave one of these, leave the other end down in one of these for a couple days, let it dry, let it run the last little bit of fluid out, and then you can take it and coil it up and put it away wherever you want to put it away. All right, so this is all done here. I'm finished with that, and go around, tighten my bleeders. Oh, I've already snugged this one. I'm just gonna double check it. I'm not doing this with a ratchet and a 6-point socket. Go around to all of them. Man, just not ideal. Too much stuff crammed in here. Okay, you want to make sure that socket is on the bleeder evenly, and you're not gonna rock it off of there. All right. Good and tight. And we'll go up to this front one. I've already tightened that one. That's good. And this little bugger. All right. That's good and tight. All right, and then we're gonna clean that off with a little alcohol. All right, so our bleeder screw down there has a bunch of brake fluid, as you can see, all around it. Some of it's ran down along the caliper, so we'll rinse all that off. Brake fluid's very corrosive. It'll eat paint off. It's just not good stuff for these type of outside. And the oxygen. And then you also notice, if you look really closely, this thing is plumb full of brake fluid. See how I'm knocking some out with my finger? It's all the way to the brim in brake fluid. So you got caps to put on there, but that will attract dirt. So you want to spray that out with alcohol, with my little alcohol sprayer. Spray it and then use your shop air and blow a little bit of that out, and put a rag around it so you don't blow it all over. I'm not gonna do it on camera because I don't want to get it all over my camera lens and ruin my lens. But blow it and then repeat. Spray it with alcohol, blow it again, and then just kind of take a look again and make a judgment call. If when you spray this in there, is anything coming out? Any moisture flying out of there? If it's not, then you're good. You can throw the cap on. I wait to throw the cap on until I've gone ahead and started the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean all the bleeders as good as I can, get them dry, and then we're gonna go ahead and start the car, build up brake pressure, and then we're going to come back and leak check and make sure nothing's leaking. Then we'll toss the caps on, put the wheels on, put it on the ground. So I'm gonna get these clean and then we'll come back. Right, so now that I've got the bleeders all cleaned up, I'll go ahead and take this off. So I learned that this thing will hold pressure, which is just awesome. I guess, you know, if you didn't finish bleeding, like I could have started bleeding last night because I had a few minutes, but I didn't want to leave the bottle open. So little did I know, this thing just doesn't leave the bottle open. Now, what is funny is it's trying to push some fluid out, which I guess isn't a big deal if this is closed off, but if it's closed off, it shouldn't be. Anyway, I'm down to the very end of fluid that's in here, and I'm not going to be bleeding brakes anytime soon, so I'm going to end up picking this apart anyway. Taking the cap off. And earlier, when I was running VCDS, I meant to mention, this is your little float sensor. So if you imagine if it's on the cap, in the master cylinder, this little float, when it goes up, that means the fluid level's high, and it's sending us electrical signal telling the computer that it's full. So you can't plug it in and have it like this. You've got to plug it back in and flip it over like that, so it thinks and it fakes it out. The computer thinks that the fluid's high. So there's a little plug right here earlier that I showed you to disconnect on the cap. If that's disconnected, you're going to get an error indication on VCDS, on the dash actually, and you likely won't be able to bleed the brakes. So doing that little trick will allow you to. That one a second. So we're going to take the plug and plug it in. Maybe. Pins aren't bent or anything. It's just not wanting to go in real easy. You heard it click, and I just locked it. And we're going to put this in. We may have to come back, because remember we were like right at the max line. We may have to come back and extract some of that out. So this is kind of where some guys will say, well, I'm not going to buy a pressure bleeder because I already have a vacuum bleeder. Well, use your vacuum bleeder down on the bleeders, and then you won't have to fiddle with waiting for the fluid to come back. You just kick your, as soon as you're done bleeding, you just kick your vacuum bleeder on, and it'll suck. It'll put a vacuum on it, and then you pop the hose off the bleeder, and it'll suck that hose completely empty, and you'll be moving on to the next one. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there waiting. So I think it'd actually be faster if I had a vacuum bleeder too. Well, I lucked out. I mean, it's right at the top of the line now, even with the float, but you remember the float is going to take up a little more volume in here and bring the line up a smidge. So just double check that. I'm going to double check it again when it's on the ground and completely level, because that's going to give me the best and the most accurate reading. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this cap away, but I'm going to go ahead and clean it first. So one thing I do with mine is pull the rubber seal out, clean it, wipe it down, clean it. You should clean it good with some alcohol. I'm just using denatured alcohol. Spray everything out, spray everything off. You don't want this stuff sitting on it for a long time. It will slowly start eating it away. So increase longevity, do that. Just a little tip. All right, I got it all cleaned up. Sprayed it all off with some alcohol and aired it off. So I'm gonna take it and put it back, put the O-ring back, and then go ahead and put it back in the kit and put the kit away. Go ahead and give this thing a review. I was not happy with it with the GM cap at all. I'll probably end up buying Motive's aluminum cap for that. The Volkswagen cap I'm extremely pleased with. I love the quick disconnect feature. I've got one of these caps goes on my Honda. I think it's this one. I'm gonna try that on my Honda and see how that goes. If that works really well, I don't have a cap like this style that screws onto my Honda, so if that works phenomenal, then I'm gonna be really, really pleased with it. I'm just a little disappointed in the plastic GM cap. I kind of expected it. I got the job done. You'll have to watch that video if you want to see how I got that one done. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll try some of these other caps on other cars as they come in. So as far as the Volkswagen, I'd give it a huge thumbs up. I'd say 10 out of 10 on the Volkswagen. The connection, this is tight. The seal seems, it didn't even leave really an impression at all. It seems like the seal is going to last for a very long time. If not, I can always flip it over and use the other side, and it'll probably still seal just fine. Worst case, I can always take this seal and find some material, trace it, and make a new one. So I think this kit is going to last me a very long time, and come in extremely useful. It made connecting it to the master just an absolute breeze. So 10 out of 10 on this one. I love it. Love it. Buy it. All right, as I'm cleaning up, I went to go get ready to start putting the airbox together and so I could start the car, and I went, you know what? I should have put, shame on me, I should have put like a piece of tape on the steering wheel and wrote, put a piece of tape across it and wrote, no start. Because if I tried starting it right now, I'd need a new turbo. So you might want to write yourself a note, no start, I don't know, rag in intake, no start, something to that effect, so you don't end up destroying something very expensive just by getting ahead of yourself. That's how us as mechanics do. I mean, you're pressed for time, you're up against time constraints, and you end up doing something like that, and here you were tackling basic routine maintenance, and you just created a what, $1,800 mistake. So anyway, just a reminder, think, double check. It's okay to take a few more minutes to go over and double check before you make your next move, and make sure you're not setting yourself up for failure. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and put the intake back together. A lot of people don't like K&N filters. Just gonna go here. I just cleaned and oiled this one. You don't need any more oil than that. If you see a ton of droplets all over here, that's too much oil. And wipe off this. I've been using K&N filters on a dozen or more different cars for well over 1 million miles. I've never had one check engine light resulting from this getting a mass airflow sensor messed up or anything like that. I haven't had any turbo failures. Sorry, but they work good. So just make sure you don't over oil them, and then wipe them off before you install it. Wipe off the sides. You can even dab off some of this stuff. You don't need tons of droplets all over here. That's where people get in trouble. Then the droplets go airborne, and then they go into the intake. And then they coat up your mass airflow sensor and cause all kinds of problems. Off that soapbox. I know there's going to be people that disagree. I don't really give a rip. Anyway, I am going to have to come back in here, take a look at something, and protect it. In fact, I might just go get the stuff right now so I don't have to take it back apart. But I'm actually seeing this rubber hose is chafing into this line. Now, this line has a sacrificial coating from what it looks like, and it doesn't look like it's actually going into the line. That'd be pretty bizarre for a piece of plastic to cut into a piece of metal. And in fact, I'm looking at it, and all it's really doing is polishing it up. You can see where it's split, this plastic coating. So that's just a coating to keep it from being exposed to oxygen and rusting that brake line. So I'm gonna probably run down and grab some stuff to put on there. All right, this is called F4 tape, and it looks like this. It comes on a roll with a little separate section like this because it will stick to itself. They use this exclusively, widely on the F4 Phantom aircraft, for those of you that are too young to know what that is. I never worked on one before my time even, so what you do with this stuff is wrap it, and that little blue line gives you an idea if you're overlapping or not. And it's going to be tough to do that one, so I'm probably just going to go ahead and do this one like this. So if you continue to see the blue line, then you know you're not getting enough overlap. If the blue line disappears, then you know you're getting enough overlap. And this stuff will stick to itself. It'll actually repair, and I just wound it back on itself. It's good to have in your trunk. It'll actually temporarily repair. And it almost sticks like an ace bandage kind of thing. You got to pull it real tight, and it'll stick to itself when it's pulled real tight. But anyway, it's great for making, like, on the side temp repairs. That's what they used it on F4 Phantom. They use it for that. They also used it primarily just for situations like this where stuff was hard up against something and they didn't want it chafing through, to prevent it from doing it. I ran it around a vacuum hose that I couldn't find a new one on my last VW for years because I couldn't find a cheap vacuum hose for it. I went like $200 some odd for a stupid plastic vacuum hose, and I wasn't having it. So I used it for a number of years until I found one in a junkyard. So it works great. Good to have on hand. All right, let's get to putting this airbox back in. All right, most important thing is we don't have anything down in that tube, right? Just double check. Yeah, kind of climb up on the car is the easiest way. So you're gonna take this, move these hoses kind of out of your way. Slide this clamp or this hose up over the end of this plastic, and it's not easy on here. You gotta kind of fight it. Get some of this stuff out of my way. A little room to work. Stay over there. Okay. All right. So these little things just support these. There's a wire on the end, and these other little vacuum lines. You want to get them to where they're not really rubbing up against anything. You got these little spacers to keep them from rubbing up against one another. Just rubbing down here. Just want to double check that that's not chafing through. And rubber will rub through other stuff, especially when it gets dirt on it. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Yep. All right. So that hose just goes on like that. And this electrical connector pops in place, and then it's got a little lock. Okay. And then this little vacuum hose has a little clip right here for it. And then I gotta grab my ratchet and tighten up this clamp down here. All right, I'm gonna come in from over here with a really long ratchet. I'm gonna slide it under here, under these hoses. All right, give it a little wiggle. It's plastic, going bolted to aluminum, so be mindful of that. Don't want to break it. All right, make sure you don't put this across your battery terminals. Have a bad day. I forgot to record it, but don't forget to tighten the screws for your airbox. I just fired the car up for about 25, 30 pumps of the brake pedal. The pedal is stiff. So what you're gonna wanna do is double check that these bleeders are bone dry still. You don't wanna see any evidence of fluid coming up into the bleeder. I don't see anything at all. These things are bone dry. I probably pumped it 25, 30 times. I just kept pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping. All right, this one looks bone dry too. All right, this one as well. All right, and the same with that one. It looks bone dry as well. So we can go ahead and put the caps on. And the caps, literally, I'm just gonna show you two of them. The styles in the back. The cap just pops on, except you drop it and then it rolls all over the floor, and hopefully you watch where it falls. All right. Come on. There we go. Sweet. And then it had this style on the front. I don't know why. Boom. I'll put the other side on and then we'll get the wheels going on. Volkswagens, if you've noticed when we were working on this, they don't have studs sticking out. They actually have the studs on the nut like that. It's a bolt. So, how do you get the wheel on? You can use one of these little things and it threads in. You can buy these at Harbor Freight now, actually, because a lot of European cars take them and they're all different thread sizes. Go figure, right? But you can get a set at Harbor Freight for pretty cheap too. These aren't Harbor Freight ones. I got these on a European website, European car website. But put the stud on, and then that'll guide the lug hole right to where it needs to go. Now we're gonna line up one of the lugs at the top. You just lift it. Makes it easy. You don't have to sit there and fiddle with it. Otherwise, you're really fighting this style. So I always like to take socket, hand thread them on before you get too far, especially with this style. You don't want to put too much torque on them, cross thread them if they're not properly in, not properly going into the thread, then you have some problems. Oh, I already put one in there. Can't do that. Can't put two of them in the same hole. Alright. The other lug somehow made it under my jack stand. So take that off, and then you just take your guide pin out. I forget what these things are called. Alright. You can zip it on with your impact, whatever you want to use. I'm not going to use the impact because it's going to deafen your ears.